Live streaming is on.
Here we go. I wonder if we can record at the same time. I don't think we can. Nope, we cannot. So everybody, welcome to my live stream. I'm streaming from New, so if you are not a member of New, you need to hurry up and join New because we got a lot of stuff going on over here, especially when it comes to cardology and astrology. And I have with me an awesome astrologer. And you introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, a little bit about you, and
Yes.
And how you got. I'd like to know a little bit of how you got you kind of came into cardology too, because you're also a great cardologist. So I didn't want to lose that.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. Yes, I'm known on Instagram as Deck of Crowns, and my name is Darren. I've been an astrologer for the last 34 years.
Wow.
And the way that I got into astrology, just real quick, I just got out of the military back a couple of years back. And I was living in Los Angeles for a while and decided to go to the library. I was at that young age where you're searching for yourself and things like that. And I picked up this book, and the book said Aries. And I knew that I would, I know I'm an Aries by my birthday. So I opened up the book and I was reading the book and I couldn't put it down. And I was like, oh my God, they have a whole file on me in the library. I'm thinking
the book of Darren.
Right. Yeah, the book of Darren.
That's how I feel when Scorpio comes up. This is my story.
Yeah, so I was reading the book and I sat there all day and read the entire book. And so, there's something in me that wanted to know more. So I wanted to know, how did they figure this out? So I started studying astrology. And of course, it started out for me as cookbook astrology. It started out, I wasn't synthesizing anything. I was looking at everything separate. And then years later, it took almost 10 years for everything to just go cha-chink, and years later, everything just started making sense, as far as with astrology. So I've been doing astrology readings for quite a while. And that's kept me out of first of all, I learned how to do it to simply stay out of my boss's way at work, because I didn't want to get in trouble at work, because I was always getting in trouble at work. So I used it to navigate that, but then I started giving people readings. And then about, I would say about 2005, I happened to go into this New Age bookstore in Chicago, and I picked up this book called Destiny Cards. And so the guy that owned the bookstore, he was like, I have a friend that swears by that book. He said every prediction in there is accurate. So I said, ding. So I said, I'm gonna get the book. Because it's not easy for someone to tell you something like that and you just fly by it. But I was always searching and stuff like that. And I started studying the book, and then I started checking out my cards. Then I started joining websites that may have had information on the destiny cards and cardology, as we love to call it. And and then I did a prayer and I said, God, send me some friends that's into this so we can have group chats and stuff like that. And lo and behold, I met Aquarius and her mother. And so I've been doing readings. They're always very, very accurate. Especially when I look at my own life, and I tell anyone that if you want to become a cardologist, or if you're interested in cardology, that you really need, if you're going to start, before you start looking at anybody else's life, look back at your own, because that's going to be the validation.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I got started. That's how I got started with the cardology, and I absolutely love it. I dream about it. I wake up looking at it. When I'm bored, I look at it.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of interesting things when it comes to that. And you mentioned cardology is the 9 of clubs, right? And the 9 of clubs has a 2 of hearts, right? And that 2 of hearts is like that shared, like that love, So a lot of people, when you talk to people in the cardology, it's like, I'm so happy when I run into somebody else that does it. And it's a different kind of vibe. It's like, it's not a competitive kind of vibe. It's like, oh my God, we all do this. We share this thing. We just want to talk about it all night long. We want predictions. We want to dissect it. That's what makes it so beautiful, you know, and it's something very different than other systems and other things. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that kind of brings us together. And I think that that's the two of hearts in the nine of clubs. It's like a shared love, a shared passion for something that draws us all together. So, you know, it's really, really, really awesome. And I started in cardology. I had a reading done, and I was blown away. I was blown away by the fact that she was using these playing cards and numbers. I'd never seen in that kind of way. And she had given me a report, and I had something to read, and I read it like a gazillion times. I was blown away by the accuracy in the report as well. And from there on, I was a card addict. I was like, but the big thing about cardology is I knew that there were some deeper things that just the information wasn't available. And that was something that bothered me. You know, I'm a Scorpio, got all those planets in Scorpio. So I had to dig, get obsessed. I was telling somebody today that my friends used to think I was going crazy. They was like, oh, you and these cards, everything is a card. And, you know, I've gotten cussed out. I wish you would leave those cards alone because you're a psychic and you don't need them. And all this other, I got so much ugliness for a while, but I stuck with it. And then eventually worlds started opening up and information started opening up and the cards started talking to me in a way that, you know, I just can't explain other than the way that they're talking to me. They're telling me, you know, I'm feeling the energy of each and every one of these cards. And this is what it feels like. I'm very good at not only feeling things, but I'm very good at interpreting my feelings and translating that to other people so that they can understand what the feeling is. You know what I mean? And I, you know, I have a 10th house moon. So, you know, so I you know, hugging in 10th house. So I'm very good at sharing my emotions and verbalizing it, because that's the problem that a lot of people have. They can't verbalize their emotions. They can't share it with others. They feel it, but they can't share it with others. And, you know, it's almost like the thing where they said people can colors, like they can smell colors or they can feel colors, and they can tell you additional things about a color, you know what I mean, that you don't get from just looking at a color. But that's how I kind of interpret life. Like I feel things, and then I can interpret what I'm feeling as, you know, I can put words to it. And, you know, and that's kind of how I came up with the different karmas that are associated with cards. I told people today, you know, today I got my motorcycle today. And for me, a motorcycle is a king of spades. And, you know, to tell people that, it's like, well, where did you get that? How did you come up with it being a king of spades? I was like, well, first of all, every single time I'm around a motorcycle and I'm around certain people, I feel the same energy from that motorcycle to the people who are attracted to the motorcycles, who actually ride them. So I'll see that people who have a king of spades are typically the ones who like motorcycles, you know, and they ride motorcycles. So that's a few cards. It could be a 4 of diamonds. It could be a king of spades itself. It could be, you know, anybody who had a king of spades, they like motorcycles, you know. So I would say, well, that's a karma that's associated with the king of spades. And I know the feeling of the king of spades. So when I went in the motorcycle store, I could feel king of spades energy all around me. And I made a phone call to somebody while I was there, and she brought up the king of spades. While I'm on the phone, she had a king of spades, something going on with the king of spades experience. I said, well, there's the confirmation. And the confirmation will show up in the form of the card. So, you know, it's just, it's kind of odd, but that's kind of where I get it from. So cardology, you can be the best at cardology by becoming very observative. You know, being a really, really good observer, and not just with your eyes, but with your senses, all of your senses. You're observing something, and you can become very good at cardology just because you can observe things, and not just in the OCD way that I do. I'm very OCD. I don't miss a beat. So, and that's one of the things that's associated with my cards is OCD, you know, obsessive compulsive. So There are times when I'm always trying to figure something out. I'm always trying to figure out a puzzle. Everything becomes a puzzle, and I want to know how it fits together and all little pieces, and I get obsessed about it. And sometimes I'll talk about it to people, and they're just not going to understand. They'll think I'm crazy. So maybe back in the days, I would have got locked up in a crazy hospital, but I didn't. Thank God I was born in 1974, and now we're in 2020, and I'm not looking crazy talking all this stuff. So anyway, we came together to talk a lot about 2021. Everybody's talking. Some people are afraid to talk about 2021 because they're like, good God, 2020 was such a doozy. 2021 is like, come on, it got to be like, well, one of the things that you have to understand is that we're in the Mercury year of a new cycle, right? So we're in a new decade, a new 10-year cycle, and we're in the Mercury year. So that means that the Mercury year, Mercury deals with your day-to-day life. It deals with your plans. It deals with your thoughts. And it's the beginning. So if this is only the beginning,
right,
we got an incredible decade ahead of us, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. I mean, because this is the beginning. However, another thing that I brought up is that this is a 4 hearts year, right? And a 4 hearts year is fairly stable. Think about it. You were home a lot. You were in quarantine. You were protected. You were in a cocoon. You know what I mean? Like when you're in quarantine, you're literally in a cocoon. You're being protected. It's a less likely a chance that you're going to get in a car accident. It's less likely a chance that you're going to get in a plane accident this year because most people ain't flying. So a lot of the other fears are almost non-existent. You know what I mean? And you're given an opportunity to actually rest. And you're given an opportunity to see some things you probably have not seen in years. You know, some people probably have not seen a frying pan in a long time. You know what I mean? Some people eat a lot of fast food or they go out and they have not seen the inside of their refrigerator. You know what I mean? So now their refrigerator is stocked with food and they're actually cooking and they're doing things. Some people ain't even seen their kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just things like that. So this was an incredible year on that aspect. We were given this period to reflect, you know what I mean? To reflect on the coming years. How do we prepare for the coming years? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, the United States or just the world at large is basically going through a major transformation. We have Pluto in Capricorn, as we all know, and we have several other planets in Capricorn too. We have Jupiter, you have Saturn, and and Jupiter and Saturn, and then I think Mars is somewhere around there. I think, you know, but more importantly, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn is the ones that you want to pay attention to. Pluto is the planet of transformation and healing. Okay. Prior to you guys getting on the call, Aquarius and I, we were talking about the Pluto return that's coming up in 2022, and of course that's a distant conference from now. Yeah. But when Pluto is in Capricorn, when Pluto first enters any sign, it gives you an opportunity to heal and transform that particular sign energy. Right. Now we're looking at Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn represents structure, government, and powers that be. Right. Okay. And it also represents the conservative. Right. Okay.
The things that have been for a very, very, very long time.
Yes.
In our, you know, in destiny, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Saturn related stuff. You know what I mean? Karma.
Yes. And those two planets together, you know, but so here's the thing. Pluto is saying, I've given you an opportunity because I stay in a sign anywhere from 7 to 22 years. Uh-huh. So I'm giving you an opportunity to heal and transform, because if you don't, then I'll destroy everything and you'll have to rebuild it. And I think, you know what I mean?
I say you could do this the easy way.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's, it's a very poignant time in our history, and what we're seeing in the United States, because we've never seen, of course, we've seen unrest, but this is a reckoning that's happening. you know, and you know, it's not to be feared, you know, it's something to embrace. And just listening to you talk about the four hearts, and you know, the Neptune energy is all about delusions and illusions, and some people will succumb to the fears in that four heart year, in the latter year, and get scared or close themselves in, you know. But you know, we're going into a five of hearts year, and that's something else that we can talk about a little later on. But go ahead, Aquarius.
Yeah, well, actually, this whole Pluto and Capricorn thing, and the idea of karma and karmic reckoning, and this is something that I talk about a lot. I beat this into the ground. It's like, if ever was a time for you to collect your karmic rewards, it's now. You know what I mean? So yes, when people are owed something like long-term debts, like debts that have affected society as a whole, have affected families as a whole, that has done damage, then they this is the time when they have to reckon with these debts. They have to, but they're only going to do it if you step up to collect, mind you. You know what I mean? Your karmic rewards are not just going to some of them will fall on you, but for the most part, they're waiting for you to step up, because part of that is value. The lesson that you had to learn is value. And if you value yourself, and if you have value, then you know what to ask for, you know what to demand, you know what's fair, and you know what to step up for. So you have to have your values in check. If your values are in check, you're going to miss the check, basically. So if your values ain't in check, you're going to miss the check. Your values have to be sound. You have to have, that's what Saturn likes. Saturn likes sound values. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily that someone's idea is the best idea and it's infallible. It's just that it's based on a sound value system. You know what I mean? So you come with your values. If you come to the table, it's just like some of us have been to court. You go to court with your baby mama or your baby daddy or whatever. Whoever's the first to lose it emotionally is going to be in trouble. You know what I mean? The judge is looking like, you know what I mean? Because if your values are sound, you're going to come with the evidence. You're going to come with the papers. You're going to come with everything that you need to support your argument. And that's what they like to deal with, because people don't like drama. They don't like to deal with drama. Let's deal with this. Let's deal with the facts. Let's deal with the sound value, of the facts. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are right now. We're in this judgment day, literally. This is like judgment day. Pluto, Capricorn, Jupiter, all lined up in one. This is judgment day. It really is. And even in the biblical sense, I mean, someone actually asked me on the radio the other day, do I feel that Donald Trump is the Antichrist? And ironically, and this is the thing, when people come up with predictions of any kind, whether it's the biblical predictions, whether it was Nostradamus or whatever, these are people who have tapped in a timeline emotionally, psychically. They tapped into the timeline, because there are multiple timelines going on at the same time, believe it or not. So they've tapped into a timeline, and this is the energy that they feel, and this is how it's described, right? So Donald Trump is a 3 of diamonds, which has a Jack of Hearts and Saturn. Jack of Hearts is the Christ card. And we all know that Saturn is damn near the devil. Restrictions, everything you don't like. You know what I mean? Everything. They say that the devil is the ultimate scapegoat. That's all the devil is, right? So that would be the Saturn. You know what I mean? Because if you are a person that's born with heavy Saturn, you got Saturn on you, you're going to be so scapegoated so bad, you're just going to want to shrink out of society. You don't want nobody to see you. You want to hide. You don't want to, whatever, because you feel like you're going to be scapegoated. You feel like somebody's fears, emotions, bad stuff is going to be placed on you. So that's Saturn. Saturn is the scapegoat. And it's funny because what is the symbol for Capricorn? The goat.
The goat. Yeah.
The goat. Right. Saturn is the scapegoat. So you have the Jack of Hearts there. So you have the Christ, and you have the devil. So you add that two together, you get what? The Antichrist, right? So not necessarily to say that he's even really an Antichrist, but this is the energy. This is what composites his nature, right? So when does this come into fruition? Well, Saturn is the 10th house. When I ascend into the height of my career, boom, my Jack of Hearts and Saturn, quote unquote, Antichrist, comes into fruition. You know what I mean? This is now highlighted. So I can see how someone would describe him as such, you know, and I'm not saying it from a religious perspective. I'm saying it from what his card placement is. You understand?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, yes. And on his side, I'm sure all he wants to be is a hero, which is the other side of the Jack of Hearts. You know what I mean? And the other side of the Jack of Hearts is I want to be revered for what I do. I want people to appreciate, because I'm going to do good things. I'm doing good things. I want people to appreciate me. You know what I mean? So that's the other side of the Jack of Hearts, is that that martyr energy. Like I'm going to do this because I just want people to love me. You know, so this is a person that has not experienced real love yet. And what he felt at one point was love, was adoration, admiration from large amounts of people, you know, people tooting his horn and all of that. He thought that was love, and he found that that was not love.
Wow. That's very interesting because, you know, just last week I had a conversation with someone that brought up the word apocalypse. So, you know me, I go to your wonderful software.
Yeah, what is the card for the word apocalypse? I'm anxious.
I'm about to. Oh, it's going. Are you sitting down? It's going to blow your back.
4 of clubs.
Okay. No, it's not 4 of clubs. It is the 9 of diamonds, and we got a 9 of diamonds in Pluto. So I would say yes, we are in the apocalypse, just like you said, the judgment time. And another thing that I saw when I was looking at the cards is you mentioned on the Instagram live that the 4 of Hearts has a 6 of Spades
in Saturn.
In Saturn. 6 of Spades in Saturn is triple karma.
Triple karma. And
then we got the 9 of Diamonds sitting in Pluto. Y'all go figure. Yeah. It's like I said, it's an incredible time.
How this affects you on a personal level, you need to be looking back at some of the things that you've ignored. Some of the problems that you've ignored and you've not reconciled. It could be your health. It could be your relationship with other people, with someone who is very important, maybe someone who did a lot for you and you didn't do in return, or you didn't appreciate. But these are the things that you need to be on a personal level looking back to. I mean, that's what I'm going through. I'm looking back at my health. That's how the 6 of Spades is affecting me. And ironically, this week is a 6 of Spades week coming up.
Yeah.
And today has a 6 of Spades in Saturn. And if you pay attention, whatever it is karmically you need to address should manifest itself. You should see it. You know what I mean? You should feel it. So if it's your health, you might have a few health issues. You know what I mean? So if it's in a relationship with somebody, that might blow up and get out of control. You know, some area of your life is going to command your attention, and you're going to have to even add it on to this 5 of Hearts. You're going to have to devote your attention to reconciling this karma, whether it's a relationship with yourself, your health, or whatever. You're going to have to reconcile this karma for this year coming. And the beautiful thing is, because Jupiter is involved, it's going to give you an opportunity to do that. As long as you take the steps towards doing it, you're going to have the time, the energy, the resources, and everything to do it. You know, so that's what Jupiter lends to this transformation. Jupiter gives you that opportunity. Jupiter says, I'm going to hold off death. You know what I mean? Yeah. Your health is horrible, but I'm going to hold off health on you. I'm death, to give you an opportunity to get yourself together. And not only that, I'm going to bring in the gurus to teach you. I'm going to bring in the resources, the money that's going to allow you to pay for whatever you got to pay for. I'm going to do all of that for you in order to help you reconcile this karma. So it's a beautiful time. It really is a beautiful time. I know it sounds scary, and we're using scary words like the apocalypse and this and that, the end of the world, the Antichrist. We're using a lot of these scary words, but in reality, there's never been a better time, because you now are going to have the fullest support to make your transformation. You know, you're going to have father or mother time on your hand. You understand? Because that's what that Saturn deals with too. Saturn deals with time, right?
Yes.
So if you don't make time for yourself time is going to be made for you. You understand? So if you're working so hard, you are not allocating time to yourself, then your job is going to be stripped away. This is going to be taken away. If you're so focused on another individual and not focused enough on yourself, that person is going to be stripped away. That person is going to be so irritating to you, you probably don't even want to focus on them no more. Stuff like that. So it's a beautiful thing, but that's what cardology is. It's a 9 of clubs, and it's about changing your perspective to your condition. So you may think that you're being victimized, but you're truly not being victimized. You're given the space to transform.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what's very interesting is that we have Jupiter and Saturn getting ready to transition into Aquarius.
Yeah.
In December. You know, so essentially what you're looking at is Uranus is going to be the elephant in the room. It's going to be expanding that energy. Yes. You know, and a lot of people are going to have so-called awakenings. Yes. You know what I mean? Their intuition is going to be quickened. There's just going to be a lot of expansive people. And then, of course, we know Jupiter and Aquarius, the technology industry is just going to, like you said, boom. You know?
And the reason being is because Saturn is the crystallizer. It makes things real. You know, so whereas you have your Neptunian dreams and visions, Saturn just makes it real. This is like this. Here it is. Here's the hardcore realness to it. You know, and then Saturn elevates the people of that sign to positions of power, to positions of authority, to, you know, respect. You understand? So Saturn going to Aquarius is going to elevate Aquarian like people that are doing the things that we're doing, astrologers, tarot readers, spiritual people, crazy people, aka Saturn and Aquarius is the real reason Trump is in power. You know what I mean? So he has what, Uranus on the ascendant? Absolutely. You know, what people don't understand is that these transits, the energy actually takes place years before the actual transit takes place. And that's something that I totally have verified in cardology. You know, so we may have the actual transit takes place in this year, but the events leading up to this transit was 3 years before. You know what I mean? 3 or 4 years. So it's preparing you for the actual solidification of this energy. I'm sorry, you guys. That's my dog. Somebody's doing fireworks.
He's validating what you're saying.
Exactly. My dog is in clubs too. So cardology don't. But they're doing fireworks outside on a Halloween. Like, go figure. But that energy has already started taking place. You know, I posted one day on an astrologer's post that I really like his post. But he was talking about how Pluto went direct, I think. And it's like, well, Pluto's a very slow moving planet, so it didn't actually just go direct on this day and then boom. But the effects of that have already been being felt before that, right? But the human consciousness can lock in. We can lock in on things. This is how we interact with astrology. By locking in on a date, and I've seen this in cardology, we feel these dates. It's the dates because we're here rooted on this sun, on this planet that moves a degree around the sun every day, right? So this is the law for us. This is really the time. These degrees going around the sun, this is the ultimate law to us. This is what we lock into. So what we lock into is those days, those shifting days. That's what we lock into. We lock into that energy. So a lot of times when I'm doing predictions and stuff like that, I'm using astrology, but I'm interpreting it through cardology of the day. So if there's a transit that's supposed to take place on this day, I look at, well, what's the card of the day? Because that's going to tell you what this transit is about. That's going to tell you the ultimate imprint that is putting on humanity is what that energy is for the day. The energy of the day is very important. The karmic energy, all of that, super duper duper important. So we've locked into Saturn and Aquarius already. We're already there. Even though we ain't there, we there, you know? So all of this is going on. So what you have is the Mercury energy of the initial conjunction, the initial connection. That the first thing is Mercury. Mercury is immature, it's fickle, it's crazy, it's argumentative, it's debating, it's busy, it's all type of electrical energy that people just, some people don't respond well to that energy. You know what I mean? Depending if you're very Saturnian or you're very Neptunian or you're very Plutonian, you may not respond well to Mercury energy. You know what I mean? I think about when people have anxiety, people are worried, or when another person has anxiety, how that bothers you. So with everybody tripping, you may not be tripping, but if everybody else is tripping, you're tripping off of everybody else tripping. So Mercury can be really crazy like that. And then we even have the North Node is in Gemini, which is another Mercury influence. So we got a lot of Mercury playing. And when you have a lot of Mercury energy playing, it's crazy. Think about it. Mercury in cardology rules children. If you have a room full of children, they're bouncing off the walls. If you ain't, especially when you ain't got no Saturn, you ain't got no plan yet. You know what I mean? This is just the beginning. Imagine you get your first set of kids in the beginning of the year. You ain't got no plan. You got no curriculum. You got nothing. These kids are going to bounce off the wall and drive you crazy. So that's what we have right now in the world. We got these kids bouncing off the walls, driving people crazy in all levels, in all areas of society. So eventually we're going to progress from Mercury energy and we're going to progress into Venusian energy because that's the next planet. And Venus, a lot more toned down because Venus wants to socialize and
harmonize.
Right? Yeah. So harmony we start to see what our similarities are rather than arguing about our differences. We start moving off into groups, into social groups. We start separating ourselves and we're happier because now we're around people who are more like us. And then you get to Mars, where you're thinking about fighting the other people who ain't like you. That's the next planet. So we go through these. When you're going through these planetary energies and cycles, you can gain an understanding about what's to come, and you're a lot less worried. Number one, because you already know. You already know what it is. So now you say, well, what do I do now? Now I continue focusing on me because I already know what's going on out there. So I'm gonna focus on me. Focus on my plan, focus on my mission and my personal destiny, because that's what it's all about. It's all about your mission and your personal destiny.
Absolutely.
I hear every dog fighting in there now. So Mercury people, in particular Gemini, could be A, having a very difficult time, or B, having this extra major transformation going on in their life. With the North Node, with Saturn moving into Aquarius, with, all of these new things, we're on the epic of a new beginning, so with all of this newness, and they're the ones that give birth to new ideas that are coming in the universe out into the planet, they have to give birth to that energy, that mental energy, this is a very, very, very transformational time to people who are heavily mercurial and even the children, heavily mercurial. I don't think people realize how much of a transformation children are going through when they no longer are going to a physical school and they have to stay home and be in school, co-schooled by their parents and their teachers and using all of this new, technology and Zoom. I mean, Zoom is complicated for adults, yes. And these children are jumping into these things now. I think their lives are being transformed more than anybody's.
What's interesting is that, we have the South Node in Sagittarius.
Right.
And then we have the North Node in Gemini, and the South Node is what we are, if we are to move forward, are some of the things that we need to let go of. And on the Sagittarian side of the whole thing, we need to let go of all the low side keywords pertaining to Sagittarius, like recklessness, let go of beliefs that no longer serve us, certain religions, and not to offend anyone.
Truths.
Yes, you got to let go of
laws, even higher laws or higher courts that are not working.
Yes, and then so what we need to do is integrate those lower energies into this Gemini North Node energy, and so they can work from us, because there are gifts in the South Node.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah. So
There are. And, some of the bigger gifts is just becoming a larger part of society internationally with foreigners. We're doing more dealings with people all across the world now. That's something that's very helpful. But the North Node also, see, again, in cardology, Mercury deals with your day-to-day life, right? And it deals with your locale. So we're hearing that as a keyword a lot, is locale. I said that 10 times today when I was talking about local politics. Your locale, getting to know your local environment, your local people, the people who you see every day when you go to the grocery store, when you do this and when you do that, becoming more present. You know what I mean? And I noticed that there's a lot of things I noticed, especially being a person of color and being a Black woman. I noticed that how not present we could be. You know what I mean? Like we don't, and we get that from growing up in certain traumatic situations, especially in the city. Don't look at me, don't look me in the eye, don't look me in the face, don't say nothing to me, don't smile, don't talk to me. All of those things are anti-locale. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about local, it's like you get to know the people that you see every day. So-and-so works at the grocery store. You know them by name. You like, hello, how you doing? I see you every day. How many people go to the grocery store nowadays and don't know the people in the grocery store? They go there every day, but you don't know the cashier. You don't know the cashier's name. You don't know the police officer's name that comes through your neighborhood every day. You don't know their badge number. These are all local Mercury things, believe it or not, because these are the day-to-day patterns that are going to build. You know what I mean? So we're just learning. We're learning how to function within a society again, or for some of us for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I when you got quite a few kids, they come in and, hey mom, can I go play tennis tomorrow? Sure, you can play tennis while I'm in the middle of a live. Certainly. I'm that different kind of mother. I'm a different kind of person. I'm like, I don't barricade my door and all this other stuff. I'm just gonna put it on mute. This is the type of stuff I used to do in corporate America. We in a meeting, because I had virtual meetings then. We had a meeting. I'm gonna put it on mute. I'm putting my picture off, and I'm gonna answer my kids' question. Then I'm gonna come back on. You know what I mean? But this is about being present. I had to learn those lessons. I have Saturn in Cancer. And that deals with my home and my children, right? So it was important for me to learn how to be present with my children. You know what I mean? Because I was a super duper hard worker. I was, at work doing this, doing that. And I found out that the more important thing was the day-to-day with my kids. You know what I mean? Like being totally present with them, totally active down to the PTA level. You know what I mean? If I can do the PTA, do the PTA, and these things can seem so foreign to us because, we didn't grow up like that. We didn't have parents that was in the PTA and stuff like that. So how do we live this new life? How do we become this new person? And that's a lot. This is what a lot of people are going to be going through, an identity crisis. And it's a universal identity crisis. And I'm going to tell you why. The cryptocurrency, which is real big, and you guys see me talking about this all the time, is a Jack of Spades, which is the spiritual initiate. Biden has a Jack of Spades in Saturn, by the way. And if you look in the future of America, you see a very strong Jack of Spades, right? So what we're all becoming is spiritual initiates in a new life, right? We're living a new life. We're having to learn how to deal with the new us, with an identity crisis. You know what I mean? Because when maybe even at first you're going to experience imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? You're absolutely going to experience imposter syndrome in this coming life, because some of us don't know initially how big the rabbit hole, how deep the rabbit hole is for us. We don't know that, hey, I might be the future president of the United States, or I may be a future senator, or I may be a future mayor. We may not know these things, So when you get thrust into the situation, I like to bring to example, what's his name, the guy that ran for Senate in Florida, Gilliam, or whatever the case may be, and I commend him because he was obviously going through an identity crisis, and now he's like, look, hey, I'm learning myself, I'm figuring myself out. This is what I feel like I am or who I am, and I can't change that because this is what I've grown into. So he had to experience his identity crisis in the public eye. And a lot of us are going to have to do that too, but being a human being is like when you can recognize that this person is growing and they're changing just like we are, that we can give them the sandbox. I like to use sandbox. We can give them the sandbox to explore their lives, but at the same time, do their public contribution, contribute to society, what their work is, or what their skill or their career is. You understand? So that's where we are. We at so many different junctions: personal, professional, relationship, cultural, so many different junctions. So we have to give each other the space to be able to, just that reset. You understand? And this is a problem, to bring it up. It's like during the Obama years, it hit us hard. A lot of these new changes hit us very, very hard. That's why he was the president that represented change. Because when he came along, a lot of the changes that we experienced was just hard and fast. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because this was the decade that we had. Now we have gay marriage, right? Overnight. You know what I mean? This overnight. We had so many things that hit us, the real estate bubble, because this was that most people focus on the real estate bubble, but they don't focus on the fact that this is the first time that a lot of us were even able to get real estate in places that we never got real estate before. You know what I mean? Right. So It was not necessarily just a bubble, in terms of the negative side. What it was a glimpse into prosperity for a lot of us. It's like, wow, we got a lot of us got houses we never even thought we could have at that time. And now getting houses like that are nothing. So this was a big, huge growth spurt and change, hitting us hard and fast. And the reason being is because Obama was a 9 of diamonds. And the 9 of diamonds for the next pretty much, however long, is sitting in the Pluto position on the grand solar spreads. So this is fast change. This is uncomfortable change and transformation and death and rebirth for Black people, period. So there's a lot going on. And I had to bring that up because people are asking me about the 9 of diamonds. They're asking me about, what do you mean about it sitting in the Pluto position, right? So the Pluto position is the hot seat, right? And you can imagine it's like people poking you with a pitchfork, right? And why are they poking you? Because from the outside, they're trying to get you to change. You got to make the changes within yourself that affect this group. So when I was speaking on Instagram, I talked about how there are changes that we need to make that no one can define for us or anything. We have to address these things. Being in the Pluto position means if we don't address these things, large amount of people are going to die. Period.
Yes, we've got to shift our values.
Huh?
We've got to shift our values. We have to let go of what's not working.
That's what the 9 of diamonds is about. That is the 9 of diamonds. Shifting your values, evolving above the generational curses and the diseases of the community that have impacted us and created negative values. The 7 of spades and Mercury has made us do a lot of things negatively on a day-to-day basis. So whether that's fighting each other, killing each other in the community, all of that stuff, all of these things have to be dealt with, right? But I'll tell you this, according to a lot of my studies, if you're going to divide different cultures into astrology, I would say that European descendants come out of Mercury, right? And if you look at the Mercury placement of the 9 of diamonds, it's the 7 of spades. So we have a negative viewpoint in terms of, we have fears in regards to them. We have a negative viewpoint, and it's a scapegoatism. It's another scapegoatism. Okay. We're not going to deal with our day-to-day ills. We're just going to be consumed with our negative feelings in regards to them and what they did. You know what I mean? And the 7 of spades has that 8 of hearts. So it's power. So, and we're also going to give away our power to them. You know what I mean? So again, so we have to deal with that. How do we deal with that? Well, in the 9 of diamonds, they have the 4 of hearts in Saturn, which is what? The ancestors, the 4th house, your ancestry, right? Your strength, your core, your foundation. You got to get back to your roots. You got to get back to values that were sound, because we have a tendency to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? So we're very anti-religion because of some of the things we've been through with religion, and we've mixed up so many basic moral, basic society things in religion that we're like, throw the whole thing away. Throw it all out because it's religious. It's Jesus. It's that. Even using the word faith. Faith is not religion. You know what I mean? And we use faith as an entrepreneur. We use more faith than anybody because we got to pretty much believe in an idea enough to follow it into the darkness. And we have to have something to pull us through. So faith is a bigger concept than just religion, but that's one of those things we threw out with the bathwater too, with the baby. We threw so much stuff out. We throw out discipline, we throw out community. We even throw out church. It doesn't have to be church, but where do we come together to meet on some legal issues or where do we discuss what the consequences are to doing things in our community or doing things to people in our community? Where do we come together on those levels? What structure can we come together under and being connected in values? We don't have that. So
yeah, I'm sorry. That 9 of diamonds, the first karma card is telling us what we need to do. We need to take self-mastery over our values.
Right.
And then when you're looking at the 7 of the spade, like you said, 7 of spades, Mercury, you described that very well. But here's the thing. What's going to work for us is we do sit down and have that conversation instead of sharing the conversation with everybody.
Right.
Until we get ourselves together, we need to keep our stuff secret and sacred.
Right.
Until we can build.
Right. And I have a big, broad audience. So I sometimes talk to different cultures and stuff like that. But my biggest concern right now is that conversation with my folks. You know what I mean? My kin. You know what I mean? Like, it's not to... And that's what the 4 of hearts is about, by the way. The 4 of hearts decade, 4 of hearts year, you're going to be getting together, dealing with some of these issues that affect these people that are in your bloodline. You know what I mean? That are in your earthly family, your culture. You're going to be, this is what we're going to be doing. Just like white folks are going to have to get together and deal with some of the stuff that they've done or that is going on, the generational stuff that's going on with them. We all are going to have to reckon with these individual karmas so that we can come together and deal with each other on a more equitable basis, on more level footing, and that's just how it has to be. So we're going through lots and lots and lots of stuff in regards to that. So I look at that, and when I'm looking at the presidency and the future of this country, I'm looking at who is going to meet these needs. You know what I mean? Who's going to stoke the fires of transformation, and then who is going to actually be willing to deal with the karmic past, rectifying the mistakes of the past when it comes to the government. Because whoever comes in power, they're going to have to work on rectifying the karma of the United States. They're going to have to be willing to do that. You know what I mean? Because we're at that junction. We're here. There's no more running away from it. It's like we got to. But it had to be bad enough for them to even see it, that it has to be. There's no other way. Things had to get bad enough, right? So that meant that racism had to show its ugly head. Racist people have to be on front and center so you can see it. You know what I mean? And like, I used to honestly make jokes last year. I was like, folks things are just going to start honestly falling apart for white folks because, they have been very good at ignoring that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So the thing is, the universe doesn't like you to ignore stuff. The more you ignore it, the more it's going to blow up in your face. So when I saw certain things happening, they were talking about the Karens and the this and the that. I saw those as opportunities to where things were blowing up. You know what I mean? These are blow ups. These are not everyday things. I don't think some of these people just every day were just ultra racist, right? But they happen to step into the hole that's been dug for them to expose themselves. You know what I mean? Like you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing. And you are on camera now. You know what I mean? So you had people doing that. They're getting fired from their jobs and their whole lives getting ripped apart. You know what I mean? And this is real. This is real. So when that stuff starts to happen to people get concerned. They're like, okay, we got to fix this because this is scary. You know what I mean? Like you can track me down on my job and have me fired now. Okay, this is a problem. How are we going to? So this is going to force people to have to deal and now address these issues that didn't want to have to be bothered with it at all before. So that's what you kind of have going on. So the universe is beautiful. When you see certain things and you see timing, all you have to do is be patient. Things will be rectified. Patient and participate in the process. You have to show up for your karma. You have to show up to collect your debt. Just like when the debt collectors, what do? They call you and they say, you owe us $599. Where's the check? You know what I mean? So you can't be sitting here thinking that someone owes you something, but you're not stepping up to collect that debt. There's like you're just as bad as the person that owes you the debt. That's how the universe thinks of it. I used to tell my clients that about child support. Child support is another form of debt. You know what I mean? The father is the king of hearts. What is Mercury to the king of hearts? What is Mercury to the king of hearts? King of diamonds. What is Mercury? Children. Children are a business to fathers. They are a business. I know you love them, but cardology wise, the first thing that comes for them is money for the father. And the king of hearts has what in Neptune? 6 of diamonds. Financial debt, karmic debt. So unfortunately, the karmic debt and the financial debt will fall on the fathers, which is why, traditionally, you looked at the father. What was he? The provider, the financial provider, right? But it's not really the case that he's the financial provider. He is the financial provider to the children. And that's in the line of the king of hearts. So what happens is, yes, and black men think that it's harder on them. You obviously ain't been to court in other places outside of where you live because white men are in there with child support problems too, and they mad as hell. You know what I mean? They're there. I've seen lots of them. They're there, and they mad as hell. But there's a different kind of sentiment. It's a sentiment more of, yeah, I'm in debt. Yeah, I owe them little boogers something. Let me try to scrounge up this money and get them. It's a different sentiment, but because they have things like more, they have more support as a whole in the family. So we don't have the support in the whole as a family, and our values are a certain way. The children, we know that they're dead. The guys know that they're dead. You know what I mean? Because as soon as somebody say they get pregnant, you don't want to get pregnant, you just automatically start thinking dollar signs. So instinctively, you already know it's debt. You already know it's about money. So, but on the mother's side, the mother is responsible for collecting the debt for the child. So I see a lot of women who don't take their kid's father for child support, who don't collect child support. And then they turn up 5 years later, they're in a battle with the father because they're not getting anything. They either A, not getting anything, or B, the father is now taking them to court to get custody of the kids because he ain't gonna pay. You know what I mean? And all of these little things. And they come to me and I say, the first thing I ask them, and this was the thing that was asked to me when I was going through my court battle. Did you take your child? Did you go for child support? And I was like, no. And my life was destroyed. I didn't even go for child support. And my life was destroyed. And when I went before spiritual readings in spirit, I got the talking to that you are not being responsible for your children. You're not collecting what is owed to your children. It's not about you. You're not collecting what is owed to your children. What if something happens to you? What if they need something and you can't provide it? You're not doing your duty, is what I was told. And that's just me personally. So it doesn't have to be as the child support system doesn't have to be as draconian as it is. But the reason it is as draconian as it is because you people are not coming up with solutions. You people are not coming up with solutions to deal with the issue at all. So when you don't deal with the issue, your universe is bad. The universe is harsh. Harsh when you don't come up with the solutions. So you have to come up with the solutions to co-parent, make sure your kids is taken care of. So that way the father don't got to get thrown in jail. He don't have to lose his thing. Y'all coming up with some solutions. Saturn and Aquarius has technical solutions involving technology, thinking outside of the box, futuristic solutions. You know what I mean? I came up with a solution for child support. I came up with a solution for co-parenting. You know, just it's that simple. These issues have to be addressed within our community. We have to come up with our own systems of laying out the consequences for certain actions so that we can have a society and a community that flows, that, you know what I mean, just is just nice because we have consequences for doing things. So, you know, my little soapbox on that, I don't even know how I got on that. But you know, and I know that's a touchy situation for brothers, so I hate talking about it. I don't like hearing y'all complain about you. They're like, oh, what you talking about child support? I'd rather talk about something that you would love.
You know what? You know what? When I'm looking at the King of Hearts, and like you said, the card that sits below it is the Six of Diamonds, and you were talking about consequences. That made me think about Neptune, because you don't really, when you're in the middle of doing something, you don't really see
the consequences.
You
don't.
That's Neptune.
You don't.
And so, yeah, in the 60s, you're just out here having fun, making a baby or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it's that portion of it.
You don't see that debt.
Yeah, you don't see that debt.
You don't see that debt.
So I think I'm going to crown Neptune the planet of consequences too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we want to look at it like, yeah, I know children are beautiful and lovely, but the reality is that they're debts. The reality of it is that they're a debt that you're going to have to carry for the rest of, you know, however till they get old enough to carry their own debts.
Yeah.
So you have to approach it differently. And then Nine of Diamonds can be a little bit nilly-willy in how they approach those things. You know what I mean? The Nine of Diamonds is very Neptunian, especially when it comes to relationships, because it has a Two of Spades in Neptune, which is like friends with benefits. Everybody wants friends with benefits in our culture. We all want friends with benefits. You know what I mean? We think that, oh, we get along with somebody, let's start taking it to another level. You know, we all want friends instead of really truly learning how to cooperate people cooperate with people. That's what we have to learn. We have to learn how to cooperate with one another, even when we don't like each other. More so when you don't like each other than when you like each other. You got to learn how to work with the people, and that's the Two of Spades and Neptune. You got to learn how to work with the people you don't like. You got to learn how to work with your enemies.
Yeah.
You know, so we bringing this stuff up too, ironically, because again, the United States has a Five of Hearts and a King of Diamonds in the reward position. So I'm warning you guys, that spells trouble for men who are not up on their financial responsibilities. You know what I mean? So whoever comes into presidency, somewhere down the line is going to go after fathers. For not, because this is the game, we're in the middle of an economic crisis. They want to look for somebody to pin it on. So the most obvious is going to be, if you got, again, this is a decade for children. This is a decade for disabled people as well, because it has a Six of Spades and Saturn. So this is a decade for addressing the people who can't do for themselves. You know what I mean? There's going to be
live streaming is on.
But we're back. So again, Five of Hearts is imprisonment. It's imprisonment. So you can definitely expect some level of imprisonment. And it's not just for, you know, again, I was speaking to Black folks before, but the King of Diamonds also represents businessmen. So there are going to be some businessmen that were doing bad business that are going to be imprisoned as well. So you're talking about high-level executives that are going to be imprisoned on some level. So, so that's definitely one thing that we can see. Also, that Five of Hearts and the King of Diamonds pair like that is going to be the transformation of the imprisoned system. You know what I mean? So it's going to begin to undergo some type of changes. So that's taking away corporate pay for jail, pay for prisons type thing. And, you know, there's going to be some transformation in that area. So they're likely going to shut down some prisons that were corporate run prisons. So whoever has the plan that has that in there is going to be in the seat. You know what I mean? Because these are the things that have to be fulfilled. These are the karmas that have to be fulfilled. So you got to look at it to say who is going to actually going to be doing this. You know what I mean? Who has I see again, and that's why I said Biden and Kamala is because they have the most karma when it comes to this thing. You know what I mean? They have a vested part in this. You know, one in terms of contributing the laws on this side and the other contributing in the laws on that side. And both of them admitted that at hindsight, they see how this, you know, that didn't work out. The admission alone will keep you locked in a karmic cycle of, okay, you admitted it. Now what you're going to do to fix it? You know what I mean? So again, you're looking at the future of America in terms of people who are going to be more oriented to fixing the legal system, transforming the legal system and transforming government. You know what I mean? And transforming government is not just wreaking havoc and just doing shit haphazardly. Saturn doesn't like that. Saturn likes a plan. You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you, I learned this. This is magic. This is why the witches, we write spells down on paper. This is why we write down the things that we want on paper, why we do petitions, because writing, Three of Clubs, is magic. So Saturn does not really respect when you just haphazardly do stuff. What Saturn respects is when you actually come up with a plan and you write it. I don't care if it's 500 pages. Saturn really loves that. If you sit down and write a plan that's 500 pages, you will be exalted in the annals of Saturn forever. You know what I mean? Because it took a lot of thought, took a lot of energy. It took a lot for you to put that down on paper, because it's very difficult for you to write down on paper something that you're not willing to commit to. Have you ever tried it? Something that you didn't really want to do, and you know, you had to like paperwork. You know, you get this paper, you got to fill out. You want to take so and so to court, but you really don't want to do it, so you don't do the paperwork. The paperwork just sits there, and you can't, as hard as you want to, you can't bring your fingers to write this, to sign this paperwork. It's like, why is this shit so hard? You know what I mean? It's a spell. This is your commitment. This is the real commitment. When you sign it on paper, that's why you have licenses. That's why you have marriage licenses, you have business licenses, and we use business licenses and corporate licenses for birthdays to determine a business, because this is when you actually made that contract with Saturn. This is when you crystallized it. It's real. You know, they say sign your name on a dotted line. Like they say, sell your soul to the devil. And they used to roll out this big paper, you know, in the cartoons, and they had a big long pen, and they're like, you know, and it's like waiting for you to sign. That shit is real. It's real. So Saturn favors paperwork. That's why in government, there's a lot of paperwork. You know what I mean? Anything you do in government is going to involve a lot of paperwork. And they could put it on computers, but they won't even do it. You know, they don't even put this stuff on computers. They still have you come down and fill out paperwork. That's like so 1960s, because they know when I do certain applications that I want to really go through, I use my hand. As bad as I hate it, I print it out, I write everything in, and I sign it in ink, and I send it. You credit people know about that. Credit repair people know about that. That's why they tell you don't file a dispute online. They tell you to write it down on the paper, fill it out, sign it, and mail it in. That's the spell. That is the binding contract with Saturn. So that tells me one thing. Paper ain't never going to go away. Books are going to never go away. Pens are going to always be here, pens or pencils or whatever, because that's that contract that is solidified in writing. So you want to look to whoever is serious enough about this stuff in the future. Again, that's what's going to be sitting in them seats. Period. Somebody said I'm airing them out on the low right now. We don't like to write. And you know what they say about Black folks? We don't like to read and we don't like to write. And you know what? That's why we're here where we are today, because these bills, we didn't read the bills. We still don't read the bills. We hear what people come out and say about the bills, and then we go running with it. And we still didn't read it. We still don't know what it says. So again, you know, so a lot of these are the things. So as you can tell, we're headed for a very Saturnian time. And I believe we really are. I think this is the Saturn period for the United States. What is the United States going into? You know? We're in Mars. I think we're going to Mars, Saturn, Mars, or something like that.
Yeah, we should be going into Jupiter then if we're in Mars. So wait.
Not in the period. No. I'm talking about the cycle. Like the 7-year cycle, 13-year cycle. I think we're in a 7 or 13-year Saturn, I think. I could be wrong. I haven't pulled it up in front of us.
Yeah, we're in a 13-year. We're in a 13-year Saturn cycle. I got my little miniature book with
Saturn cycle. Right. So, because I'm feeling so much Saturn energy. Like I told you, I feel these things. I'm feeling so much Saturn energy coming at us. We've had a lot of Uranus, but I'm feeling a lot of Saturn energy coming at us, like real serious stuff. You know, so if you want to get on the right side of the law, or the right side of the cosmic law right now, you're going to buckle down and get with Saturn right now. You're going to buckle down and get with Saturn, you know, and that says a lot for relationships like marriage. That's buckling down and getting with Saturn. You know what I mean? So the next, it's going to be very important. The Four of Hearts is one of the marriage cards. You know what I mean? It doesn't dictate who you're marrying, but it says you better get married. Because Saturn favors that type of commitment. You know, so you're going to be seeing a lot of people get divorced next year, of course, because it's a Five of Hearts year. So divorces galore. However, you're also going to see a lot of people get married suddenly. Five of Hearts is sudden marriages. That's like elopements. Like somebody just pops up and they marry. Like, wow. It's going to be a lot of that. Yep. Seriously. They ain't even going to be thinking about it. They're just going to get married. And you're like, so-and-so got married. Like, just like that. It's going to be a lot of that. Definitely a lot of divorces. The divorces are a long time coming, though. So, you know, these are people who already knew they should be divorced, who know that they need to get a divorce, and they just been sitting on the divorce papers, or they've been sitting on the thought of getting divorced. It's a wrap. So what you need to focus on, especially the men, because of the King of Diamonds sitting next to it, is that financial plan for that divorce. You know what I mean? Because that's going to be a key thing that's going to be coming up in the courts, is that the judges are going to be like, you're going to have to pay alimony. You're going to have to pay this. You're going to have to pay that. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And that's probably why people were sitting on the divorce papers. It's like, it's cheaper to keep them. You know what I mean? But because the government is going to be reshifting the responsibility, the financial responsibility back to you. The government doesn't really want to deal with child support. The government doesn't really want to deal with alimony and all that other stuff. That's the least thing the government wants to deal with. If you talk to people in the courts, if you talk to judges, they hate having to solve family problems. You know what I mean? They don't like it. And when people don't like something, they're really hard on you. You know what I mean? And it's not that they don't like you. They don't like doing that work. So again, people coming up with solutions in terms of family finances and family money. That's also another good industry. I gave you 2 industries already. I don't remember if I gave it to you on Instagram or here, but the travel industry, and what was the other one that I gave you? Five of Hearts. Travel, and there was one more.
Technology. I think you said something about technology, because the
gaming.
longer gaming.
So you got 2 industries that are going to be big. You got technology, you got gaming, or 3 actually. Technology, gaming, and travel, right? So what type of solutions should you be thinking of? Family-oriented solutions involving the children, solutions involving the disabled, because this decade has a 6 of Spades and Saturn, and there's going to be a lot of disabled people who are going to rise to power. Saturn in Aquarius. It's going to be a lot of disabled people who get into power. And they're just like every decade has its cause, its people, right? So the last decade was a 3 of Hearts. So guess who were the people who shined in that decade?
The children.
No. No. They did a little bit, but 3 of Hearts. Alternate relationships, alternative relationships of all kind took the center stage in that decade. We talked more about, you know, alternative relationships, open marriages, you know, all of that. We talked more about that in that decade than ever. And that was the energy that shined. So the energy that's going to shine in this decade, the people who are going to shine in this decade are the disabled. You know, the elderly, the ancestors, the elderly, the disabled. These are going to be huge industries. So if you're doing anything that deals with people who are disabled, or kids that are disabled, even kids that have learning disabilities and stuff like that. It's going to be a huge industry this decade. If you're dealing with elderly in some form or fashion, that's going to be a huge industry. If you're dealing with gaming, that's going to be a huge industry. If you're dealing with, especially this year, that's gaming and that's travel. Relocating, finding your ancestry, 4 hearts, big industry. Finding out who you are for people, finding long lost relatives, stuff like that. So you should be, this decade has an ace of clubs in the moon position. These are new ideas, technology ideas that largely women are going to do because that's the moon position. But you can jump ahead of the curve and you can start a business that addresses one of those needs, one of those groups. Someone asked a question. I'm gonna go through some questions. They said, do you have to get married to still be successful? Let me tell you something. When the shit is hitting the fan, people want to be with other people. And they want to be with other people that they can count on, or they feel like they can count on. You know what I mean? You don't want to be a lone soldier when there's a civil war going on, or a lone person. You just don't want to, you're just not going to want to do that. It's these types of challenges that push people together and make them tighter. It doesn't matter. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be necessarily men and female or whatever. It could be anybody. It could be, you know, it could be woman and marrying a woman. It could be a man marrying a man, but it's still marriage. It's just commitment. That just represents your commitment. The marriage not only is supposed to represent your commitment to each other, but it's supposed to represent your commitment to family, to building a family, building a nation. That's really what it's supposed to be. We have romanticized it. It's supposed to be a romantic thing. Let's go get married. No, marriage is Saturn. If you just want to have a friend, or you just want to have a romantic relationship, no, you don't have to get married. But married is Saturn. So somewhere in your life, you're going to be looking for that Saturn. And traditionally, Black folks, we have looked for that Saturn like our parents. You know, we made other people our parents. We made our mother, made our father. You know what I mean? Rather than building forward, we went back to try to repair our childhood and get married to somebody who will help us repair our childhood. And that wasn't going to last. Because once your childhood is repaired, then boom, the lesson is over and you can go bye-bye. So marriages will last more if you're marrying for the future and future to build something and to invest in something, like investing in your children. We're going to learn about legacies and even investing in our children, because we have a problem investing in our children. We think that our children could be 13 years old and they mess up and we're ready to write them off for life. You know what I mean? Seriously. You want to write off your 7-year-old. You want to write off your 20-year-old. They're not going to get to be who they're being until they turn 40, 50. Even between 40 and 50 years old, but by then they've been written off by their parents for making the mistakes that are analogous with their age and that goes along with their life path. So we, again, because I know we have to start looking forward to building a legacy. Again, Saturn is coming into play. Patience, longevity, building from nothing, starting from nothing. A lot of us are going to be starting from nothing. A lot of you are going to be moving on to the next phase of your life with nothing. Because you have to learn the value of building from nothing to something huge. You need to learn the value of that. So a lot of us are going to be starting from zero. Seriously, you know, that's going to be a part that's coming up. That's going to be starting this year. A lot of people are going to be starting with nothing, and they're going to be trying to figure out how am I going to pack along all the stuff I've accumulated in my life when the universe is saying you better let it go. You can't travel with that load. That's the Five of Hearts too. The Five of Hearts is the nomad, is the gypsy. You can only travel with what you can carry on your back. So a lot of you are going to be leaving this old stuff behind, leaving old things behind. But the beautiful thing is, because it's so pervasive amongst so many people, it's just going to be acceptable. It's going to be acceptable again to take somebody into your home and try to help them get on your feet. Y'all build something. It's going to be acceptable again. It ain't going to be like, oh, I ain't taking so-and-so into my house and da-da-da-da. I ain't doing this. You're going to find yourself taking some people in that you was like, I'll never do it again. And you doing it again. The Fool, new beginnings. That's what someone said. The Fool card. My Saturn card is the King of Diamonds. So if your Saturn card is the King of Diamonds and the United States has a King of Diamonds reward, you're all the way already equipped with what you need to succeed in business. You're already equipped. The things that you have in Saturn, a card that you have in Saturn represents the things that are hopefully solidified in your body, in your space. Like you already have this stuff. So it's good to have a King of Diamonds in Saturn because you already have the business acumen, the know-how, the desire for money, the desire to put out new ideas. You already have all that's necessary to be successful in this coming year. So Saturn is a good thing because Saturn tells you what you got, what you really, really, really got. If I stripped away every little thing from you, you're a King of Diamonds. You're a business person. You're just a scared business person. And yes, you got to learn how to be more balanced in your business. Saturn, the one additive to that is you got to be more balanced. That's it. You got to be more disciplined. She's laughing. Someone says they have a Two of Spades in Saturn. If you have a Two of Spades in Saturn for life, that means that there's always going to be somebody out there that can help you along in your career advancement or in your advancement in life. There's always going to be somebody waiting there to help you to make it to that next level. So you got a Two of Spades in Saturn. Even in your Saturn return, there are going to be coaches, life coaches, guides, personal trainers, anybody to help you to get through the most difficult periods of your life. So that's the blessing that it has there. Like I have a Four of Spades in Saturn, and I like to tell people the Four of Spades is the card of being taken care of. It certainly is. So it says that no matter what I go through, there's always going to be somebody there to take care of me, somebody there to make sure I have my basics, which is food, clothing, and shelter. I've never been without those things. And the Four of Spades is also the card of comfort and luxury in some aspects too. You know what I mean? So one thing I can guarantee is that I'm going to have comfort and luxury, no matter how bad the situation. So I've been camping out in the middle of nowhere, right? I got my trailer. I got my big old RV with built-in electricity and everything else. I don't have a care in the world, even though I'm in the middle of the forest. You know what I mean? Everybody else is roughing it. But that's what's guaranteed to me. What's guaranteed to me is a certain level of living. Like I'm guaranteed to be able to. That's why. So when I go to try to find a house, I go wherever I want to find a house. So yeah, it's a little bit of privilege. I'm a little spoiled, a little bit, but I'm guaranteed that. So you should study your Saturn card because that talks about the things that you're guaranteed. Someone said Queen of Diamonds in Saturn. That's a nice one to have. So while everybody else is out here losing their shirt, you're going to have the best of shirts. You're going to be looking sharp. You know what I mean? Like, we all done lost our money. We lost the shirt off our back. You're going to be looking like a millionaire. That's the Queen of Diamonds in Saturn. You're going to have big business ideas, despite the fact that the world is ending. You are getting all these ideas on how to make money in the middle of it all. So that's a beautiful thing. You also have intelligence because you have a King of Clubs. You can teach people and people will follow you and listen. Leadership capabilities. So no matter what, you're going to shine. Ten of Spades and Saturn. That is that's a brutal one because that's the placement of the 8 of Diamonds, right? So that 10 of Spades and Saturn is more like a set of instructions, right? And you can look at spades as instructions because spades are work. They always work. You don't care if it's 2 of spades, I don't care if it's 8 of spades. It's always work, right? So it's a set of instructions. So your instructions is do what you gotta to get what you want. Be willing to go the extra mile. Be willing to take on the extra work. Be willing to take on the extra responsibility. And you will be blessed for it. So it's more like a set of instructions than anything. It's commandments. So at any rate, we threw a couple of Saturns up in there. I knew we were going to get on this tip because, and then whenever we get on the cards and the placement, everybody has questions about certain cards and certain placements and not knowing what they are. And that's what the cardologists are here for. To help you with those placements and stuff like that. So if you want more help, you probably need to come to New. You need to make sure you get the New app. You need to get New Social because we get together, we have conferences, we talk, we teach, we do all of that. Even Darren is there with his astrology and definitely his cardology. We're all resident aliens of New God Network. So you get over there and you become a part of those conferences and those things, and you get to form these relationships because that's what this time is about. Next year also has a 9 of Hearts in Mars. It's a 9 of Hearts in Mars, right? And a 9 of Hearts is therapy, it's counseling, it's mentors, it's all of that I just talked about. So that means that in whatever situation that you're in, there's always going to be somebody who can help you, to overstand and get out of it and help you to heal it. There's going to be that you're guaranteed. All you got to do is show up and put your intentions out there, and that person is going to show up that's able to help you to overcome those obstacles, those personal obstacles in your life. So that's the beautiful thing about the 5 of Hearts. One more thing about the 5 of Hearts in this 5 of Hearts year, the 5 of Hearts is about not giving up, not running away. You know what I mean? So you're going to face some situation to where you're just going to want to throw up your hands and run away. Especially when it comes to you and your business because of the King of Diamonds and your desire for abundance and wealth. You're going to get negative. And you're going to be like, bump this, it ain't going to happen. And you might have only been 6 weeks away from it happening. Or maybe you're a year away from it happening. But the point of the matter is, sometime during this cycle is going to happen. So prepare, keep going, keep pushing. This is the time when it's going to happen. So I know I talked a lot, Mr. Darren. Do you have anything you want to throw in on there?
No, I just, pretty much looking forward to this 5 of Hearts year. It's going to be a very significant year of changes.
Someone
and
real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to catch this before we go. Someone asked, is this just for the USA or the world? The USA is the center of the world. So everybody's got their eye on America. People feel like Donald Trump is their president and they hate it or they love it, whatever. America is really the center of the world. It really is. Because we're where all of the whole planet meets. We're where the four corners of the earth meet.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So what I'm saying to you, and you're listening, even if you're not in America, it applies to you. So anyway, thank you guys. I can finally break for some candy. I didn't get a chance to get my witch's hat today. I wanted my witch's hat. It was the one day I could wear my hat and feel proud. But yeah, I like witches hats. I love witches costumes. I do wish I could wear a witch costume every day. I love it. I really do. I do love it. But this is also Day of the Ancestors, Night of the Ancestors. A very, 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 it's a Four Hearts day. It's all about the ancestors. So even if you don't believe in Halloween, that day, Four Hearts is about the dead. It really is. The Five of Hearts, which was yesterday, is a day of the dead as well. That's a day that deals with dead spirits, disembodied spirits, stuff like that. That's the energy of the Five of Hearts. You know, but the Four Hearts is the energy more of your ancestors, your more sentient spirits. See, the Five of Hearts is your little playful spirits, what we would call the devilish spirits. These are all parts of you. So these little playful devilish spirits that like to do this, like to do that, have little weird fetishes, want to do this, want to do that. That's the Five of Hearts. The Four of Hearts is your roots, your more settled, your ancient ancestors. You know what I mean? That are concerned about the preservation of your family, concerned about when we return, we want to return to something. We want there to be something here, a continuation of our legacy through you. That's this energy here today. You know, so it's still very important that you take into account those things, especially this decade, because that's going to be very important. So anyway, I guess we can wrap it up. I
want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm very humbled.
Anytime. You're the dopest. Seriously.
Thank you.
No, seriously. I dope astrologers. I mean, I don't even care. They hate me. If I think they're a dope astrologer, I'm just like, I'm just not worthy. This is dope. You know how we are with Cardology. I mean, we like the friendship of being around people that we can discuss these things with, because this ain't everyday stuff, you know, and other people will be looking at us like we're crazy. What you talking about? Mercury, Uranus, and the sun,
Pluto,
retrograde. Right. What the hell is that? You know what I mean? They're getting pulled into it, but they still didn't get the whole, you know, shebang. So we do look a little goofy still. But so we like when we get together with people who are like-minded and understand what we're talking about, and understand that we're not powerless. We do have the cheat code to life here. So get that cheat code, you know what I mean? Especially Cardology. Cardology is the ultimate cheat code to life, to karma, to everything. So anyway, good night.
Good night. Thank you.